What's up, everyone? This is Prateek, and my focus over the next few videos is going to be about NDT in Canada, specifically because a lot of you have been asking me questions about NDT in Canada, and I wasn't comfortable answering them by myself because I don't know much about Canada. So I had the privilege to talk to one of the most well-known and knowledgeable minds in NDT. His name is Paul Holloway, and he answered the questions that you have been asking me in the comment section and other places as well. So hopefully this clears up a lot of questions that you have about NDT in Canada. Uh, he has so much to talk about that we actually ended up talking twice, and each time it was an hour-long chat, but we've managed to squeeze the answers into segments of 6 to 8 minutes, or even shorter than that, actually. So I'm going to release his answers in sets of 5 videos. So the next 5 videos are going to be on with Paul Holloway on NDT, specifically in Canada. And if you have any further questions after watching those videos, hopefully the videos will clear most of your doubts. But if you still have questions, do let me know, and I will try my best to get in touch with him again and get more answers to you. Okay, so without further ado, let's get started with the video.
Okay, so let's dig into the questions, right?
Cool.
Cool. So first question, I get this from students who are starting out or who are about to step to the next level. They're like, so I want to do level 2, but there's too many level 2s. The market is saturated. How do I stand out? You know, or even for level 3s, I sometimes get that. It's like, there's too many level 3s. We don't have jobs anymore. The pay is coming low. How do you make yourself stand out in a market that is saturated?
Sure. Okay. Well, I guess you have to ask yourself what industry you're in or what industry do you want to be in. Um, there's manufacturing, construction, aerospace, nuclear, offshore, oil and gas, chemical, and you can't get tied to one particular spot. You may want to look at other areas that maybe you never thought of doing before, and looking at the opportunity for travel. Some people want to, that maybe they're used to a manufacturing NDT job where they've always worked locally, and maybe there's some downsizing or the company was sold, they were laid off, and their mindset is very local. They think, okay, well, I'm going to only look within the city limits, and if I can't find a job here, what am I going to do? And NDT is so varied that you can work. Lots of people work on rotation, and it doesn't, if you take a rotation job, that doesn't mean it's forever, right? It just may be what you have to do for now, and you may actually really like it.
Yep.
I personally, I have done and continue to do some rotation work, and it sounds hard to do 3 weeks away if you haven't done it before. And of course, I'll say 3 weeks, and lots of folks have done longer than 3 weeks, of course. But I have children, and it's difficult for them. But then when I'm home for 3 weeks, that's a real bonus, right?
Right.
So that's one thing. Take a look at the market that you're in, and maybe try a different market, or open your mind for the other possibilities. Another thing is trying to balance your competencies with your confidence. And I find that the really, really good inspectors out there have both of those. They're not only are they good at what they do, but they're confident in their skills. And it can really be detrimental if you're one or the other. So if you're confident without being
Right.
competent, then people see through the ego pretty quickly, and it's not good. And on the other side, if you're competent without being confident, I mean, a lot of NDT is being the bearer of bad news. It's our job to find stuff. Like if
Right.
there's something in there, that's my job to find it. So if I find it, then I've got the unenviable position of going to tell the client that they got to take the weld out.
Right.
So you have to be confident in your skills. So so pairing your confidence with your competence is important. And your competence is, of course, your training, right, and your experience. and your confidence is double checking yourself, and having other people double check you. As humans, we're really bad at self-evaluation. Right? If
Right.
you ask somebody to count their calories, for the day in their head,
Right.
they'll come back with some pretty crazy numbers, right? And it's not until you have a personal trainer hanging over your shoulder that you really get a good view of what's going on. So
Yeah.
having your stuff double checked is good, and having a good mentor. And then actually another one I want to mention is networking.
Ooh.
Like if you're a member of an ASNT chapter, or if you if you go to conferences, so much of NDT is a name game. And I don't mean that in a bad way, because if you're let's say a contractor, you're a painter, or you build decks for houses, right? That's a name game, right? And the really good folks that do that, their name gets out. So when you think
Yep.
about who to call, you just go, I'll get the guy that my neighbor had, right?
Right.
So networking is really important, because when it comes time to bring in all the people for a shutdown, the coordinators have a list. And where do they get that list from? Well, it's a list of people that they know or other people know, right? And of course they'll call somebody and say, hey, I need one more UT2. What do you got? And it'll be the first person on their list. So get to meet people, and do that through your local chapters, right? And I think most everybody, especially in the United States, in Canada, we don't have as many ASNT chapters, but we certainly have other organizations that you can join. But in the States, there's lots and lots of ASNT chapters
Right.
and opportunities to go to meetings.
Perfect. Awesome. So in summary, you're saying people need to look outside their comfort zone, or like what they're regularly used to doing, and be open-minded, seek out new opportunities, be competent, like get training from the best people, trying to get experience properly, and get your competence level high. At the same time, get your confidence level high by verifying what you're doing with someone else who's experienced, and getting that confidence. Double check your work, but be confident on the job to make a call if you have to make a call. And then
And don't be afraid to admit that you're wrong, because you
oh my God,
will be
that is
wrong.
such a big one. That is such a big
Yeah.
one. I've faced so many people who continue arguing, even though halfway through the conversation they realize they're wrong, but it's kind of like too late to back up. And this happened with one of one of the persons I know. And then later on in the day, we went to have some wings, chicken wings, and drink some beer, and that person got a little free, and then he was like, hey dude, you know what, this morning when we were arguing about that thing, halfway through the conversation I knew I was wrong, but I felt like it was too late to back out, so I kept on going. I was like, are you serious, dude? I lost my mind. But, okay, great. So, and then networking, that is another huge thing, which I stress on a lot as well to people. I make it a point that I visit as many conferences as possible, and local sections as well. Like you said, in US, most of the bigger cities have the local section meetings, and for ASNT and other NDT organizations, and people should definitely make a point to network with people. Your name goes out there, and this is a small industry, so if you know someone and you're in their mind all the time, then opportunities start showing up.
Yeah, and that's face-to-face networking. Like LinkedIn doesn't count. Social media is useful to find out what other people are doing and maybe share some ideas, but it's really the face-to-face that's important. So
Right.
don't think you're networking if you have 1,000 connections on LinkedIn, or if you've if you're on a message board, right? That doesn't count. You have to meet people, and there's not a real in-depth plan to do that. You don't have to think about it. Just go. Just go
Right.
to the meeting, sit down with somebody next to them, introduce yourself, and shoot the breeze. And don't leave right afterwards, right? People stand around in the parking lot and talk. The greatest way to meet people and to bond as humans is not in the meeting room. Like if you and I sit next to each other in a conference, right? And we sit there and we watch somebody do their talk, and then I hardly know you. I don't know. There was a nice guy that sat down next to me, and he looks kind of familiar.
Right.
That's not it, right? We got to leave that room, we'll go back, we'll grab a coffee. I'll see you there, and I'll be like, hey, man, what did you think of that? Right? All of a sudden, we lose an hour, right? We miss our next talk because we
Right.
are having a coffee.
Right.
And then all of a sudden I go, hey, I know this guy, right? I met that guy at that show.
Yeah.
Right.
Perfect. Awesome.